morning, everybody. Kendra's here.
Yay! I'm so
I
excited to be on.
I'm so excited to have you tonight. It is episode 78, and this is a real pleasure to have you here with me. And like I said, I was playing around with some of my new toys, and I'm not sure they actually work because now I'm looking at the video on Facebook and it looks like it's stuck. So I'm
Oh
like,
no, are we stuck?
yeah,
So we're not on it right now?
I don't know, but let me double check because I think we might be in a second. But anyway, let's
I'll
see.
check on my phone too.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I'm
On
like,
Facebook on my phone. Let's see.
it's
It's
like,
funny because the
oh
moment that because you said you were gonna wait to bring me on, and then in that moment I
no, I'm just
dropped
super.
the my
Oh,
this I
we are
dropped
on.
something, so it looked like I was like hiding somewhere.
Well, we are on, and it's perfect timing because tonight is October and it's Manifesting with Meg Conversations with Extraordinary People. And I have a most extraordinary woman here tonight, Kendra Rinaldi, to celebrate October Empowered Through Service. And you guys are just going to love her. But before we begin, I want to remind you all that this is a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss, and time to manifest the life of your dreams. I know, quite a bold feat, but we're going to get there tonight. Welcome to Manifesting with Meg. Kendra, welcome. I'm so happy to have you tonight. This is amazing.
I am so grateful that you invited me to be on. It's like it's weird to be on this side of
I
the
know,
of
I
this
know,
of the
I know.
table.
We're going to turn it around a little bit because
Yeah.
she normally is, and I will introduce her at now before we go any further. She normally is the podcast host of Grief, Gratitude, and the Great in Between. So, any of you out there, struggling with the grieving process or need a little bit of a hit or something that uplifts you, check her show out. It is a wonderful show. I will definitely put all the links in afterwards. But I do want to remind everyone also this is a show that's based upon my book, The Magical Guide to Bliss. And you can't really see it there. She can see it on her side better. And it's a wonderful opportunity to go through the months, setting your intention and really lifting up the vibration. So I'm going to ask Kendra to set her intention right now. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about that and also pick a number out of the magical guide and go from there. So without further ado, introducing Kendra to all of you. She is a grief and life transition coach who has experienced grief many times in her very short life. Some of the most poignant moments were the tragic and sudden death of her sister in 1996, and a miscarriage during her first pregnancy in 2006, and her mother's death of pancreatic cancer in 2016. So these are really huge things. From her experiences, she launched this podcast I told you guys about called Grief, Gratitude, and the Gray in Between. And I definitely, like I said, encourage you all to check it out. And then but that was beginning in March of 2020. She invites guests to share their journey and how they grew from the experience, many sharing about grief after the death of a loved one and tools they used in the grieving process. She's also a volunteer at Hope Grief Support Center and passionate about helping others who feel alone in their grief and provides grief care and support to other participants. So Mike Spatola is on. Welcome, one of my faves. He's actually going to be doing I guess a show panel in November with me. Mike, thank you for coming. An awesome book. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, Kendra. My God, share a little bit more of what I didn't cover because there's so much about you that we get to go over tonight on the other side of the desk,
Oh,
right?
yes, it's so odd for me. I think I've only been interviewed just like a couple of times. So yeah, I'm used to asking questions, not answering them. So Meg was a guest on my show on the podcast, and that's how we connected, and we realized how much we had in common. I realized actually after reading her Butterfly Awakens book how much we had in common. I don't know if this talked to you or to the public, but when when I read that you had been in Colombia, which is where I'm
Oh
from,
my God.
and so
Well, I'm going to be asking you about that because Colombia happens to be one of my favorite countries. So shout out to all those Colombians out there who brought like the merengue, cumbia, salsa, and vallenato to me back in the day when Carlos Vives wasn't a thing. But I definitely learned very quickly all the dance moves because that's where the fun started. And at 16-year-old, drinking aguardiente was definitely something I will remember for the rest of my life. So yes, clearly you brought a lot of joy to me to actually go down memory lane again. And Mike's saying, sorry, Kendra, but clearly you've overcome adversity and grief and inspiring others to accentuate the positive, which is exactly what you are in fact doing. And that's your intention and what you set out. So tell me a little bit about your podcast and how you came up with it and how you are, in the world doing your thing now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for asking that. And thank you, Mike, for pointing that out. I think we all go through a lot of things, and um, we are such resilient beings, right? Human beings. We are really resilient. And a lot of times we don't realize how resilient we are in reality, right? And we don't realize too how many things we've overcome in our life. Um, like when something really hard happens, we think like we're not going to get over that or through that, not over, but through that stage. But then if you look back, you realize how many other things that you thought you weren't going to get through, you did get through. Even just in childhood, like uh maybe the first time you slept in your own bed and thinking you had to still sleep with your parents, or the first time you lost your favorite toy and were able to still navigate that even grief of losing your favorite toy or your blankie, or the day they maybe hid your pacifier and told you it was lost forever. I never had a pacifier, but you understand what I mean by that. We go through so much. So in my life, yes, I've been through lots of different changes and transitions, but they're really not any different than what a lot of other people have gone through. They just might have a different name or association with me, like my mother, my sister, my baby, the baby I was carrying, friends, other relatives as well. But even if someone's never had anybody that's passed away, they've gone through something hard in their life that they've overcome. So yes, did you have a question?
No. I totally am following what you're saying. I think very interestingly enough, a lot of people run from the grief and they don't face it right up in front. And the bottom line for me is that it will follow you. It'll catch up to you. And if you delay it, then it becomes more of this mountain to climb rather than like what it was initially. So I think one of the things, and I've seen a lot of your shows and I've seen what you do, but you take all different aspects of the whole process but I do, okay, really what makes me happy the most is that you put gratitude right in between the grief and the gray in between. And really important for me is to try to figure out. Now, every time something happens, and I'm so sensitive, I grieve about everything. It's like, oh my god,
Ditto.
Oh my god,
It's because aside from me being Hispanic, I'm also Italian like you. So I think we're born with the Velcro like hand stuff
on the head.
right?
Oh my god, I love it. But really, the reality is up until a certain point, with all the drama and everything, you do have to play with that, which I think is really kind of cool because on your show it becomes really a play because you're so artful as to how you bring out the real heart of somebody when they're speaking to you. And I know that because I absolutely benefited from you. And we have Kim on, and Kim is my publicist, and I want to give a shout out to her, thanking her for the connection because she's very good at matching me up with amazing people. So shout out to Kim Wise right now. So
thank you, Kim, because she and I were the ones exchanging emails before. So thanks for connecting us.
Yes. So tell me a little bit more about that. And I would like to bring it into your reality is what you make it.
Absolutely. So you said something so important, that is when we go through something hard, it is definitely easier if we kind of go through that pain rather than, stuffing it down. I always compare it to a pressure cooker. You have to let out the steam a little bit at a time. If you just open up that pressure cooker, man, that's gonna just so in most cases, letting out that grief or that, those emotions come out, just as they come, as waves as they are, will allow us to navigate those, moments easier than if we just kind of stuff them in and then just open up the pressure cooker.
Yeah.
That would be my cooking analogy there.
I
But
love it.
regarding then the show, so why it was that I named it that way, of the grief, gratitude, and then the gray in between. So there's a lot that gray in between, a lot has to happen. You can't just go from grief to gratitude like that. There's got to be a lot of stuff that goes on in order to really have that gratitude. But what I have noticed in the amount of interviews I've had, I've released over 80 episodes, but have interviewed already, probably almost 100 people. So the in those conversations is that what really allows someone to keep moving forward is having an attitude of gratitude. Really does shift how it is they navigate each day. Because even if you're going through a hardship, just being grateful even for one thing in that moment, in that day, will just kind of slightly shift. I even made some t-shirts called titled like "Gratitude Flips the Switch,"
Oh, I
because
love it. I have
yeah,
to write it down. Oh my God, I love
yeah, gratitude flips the switch, because it really does just kind of take you out of that state. Just find one thing each day that you're grateful for, even just when you start your morning. And it doesn't mean, again, that you can't feel those sad emotions. It just kind of eases a little. It's like a balm to the soul, in that moment.
Well, even Mike is saying post grief, he's enabled him to turn his losses into celebrations of life and
Yes.
commemoration of those who he's lost. And and then Suzanne's comment is, whenever her mother would freak out, she would say the balloon popped, not good, better to let the air out, like you said. So that pressure cooker, and then it goes very slowly into something more easily manageable. You didn't let it go too long. Well, let's
Yeah,
go
I
back.
love all these
I
analogies
know.
and
I
comments. Thank you. I am able to see them. I'm so excited.
Oh my God. So I have to say, like I said to you at the outset when we were in the green room, basically, I was so excited to have a conversation with you because I do love the reality is what you make it theme. And I was curious, the Albert Einstein quote, where, Einstein, believer in miracles himself, magic and miracles, reality is merely an illusion, albeit a persistent one. So I guess whatever you choose is the reality that you're going to exist in. And that's exactly what the insight was. It's time to choose what reality will be. When you believe that the world will conspire in your favor, you will find evidence to support this theory. When you believe that each day is an opportunity to strengthen your attitude of gratitude, close your eyes and picture the kind of life you want to live, the kind of people you want to attract, and the kinds of places you want to go, and choose that to be a reality. That's all the inspiration you need. I want to add one more point to that because I got stuck in the reels, guys. I was going through the reels and I got stuck in the reels on Instagram. And there was one that really hit me really profoundly. And it says, you can't control the people around you, but you can control the people around you. So while you can't control what they do, you can certainly control whether or not you put yourself in that vicinity for sure.
Mm.
So I'm going to turn it back to you and ask you
Mhm.
what your thoughts are on all of
Oh
this.
my gosh, so many right now, because I talk to my kids about these kind of things often. Um, when we're in the car and we're running late to something, I'll just give an example. Tennis class. I remember a few years back, I might be driving after school, taking my kids to tennis class. My daughter, it was her class actually. She'd be so nervous that she was going to be late, and like, Mom, we're going to be late. We're going to be late. And I'm like, you talk about people, but we also can't control the circumstances, right? So I'm in that moment, I'm like, can I change the stoplight? Can I change it right now from red to green? No. And so she'd be no. My kids are 13 and 14, but this conversation was when she was like 10, just to give you an idea.
Okay.
No. And then I'm like, okay, can I change how fast the car is going in front of me? No. Can I go any faster? And would that make me be safe to get there? No. What is in our control right now?
Right.
What is in our control right now? And so with that, then I'd say, I can control my breath. I can control driving carefully, You can control your breath and you can control staying calm so that I can be calm so that we can arrive safely.
Yeah.
Might we be late? Yes. Now, can we change maybe what time we leave next time? Yes. So it's always just like kind of coming back to that present moment and thinking, what is in my control right now?
Right.
And focusing on that. And that really does shift your reality because you're not blaming then things about everybody else, just yourself.
I love
Just
Well,
shift it.
there's a wonderful, wonderful, I would say, tip. Like if you're
Mhm.
driving in a car, you're running late, and there's someone in front of you that's unbearingly slow, right? Like horrible. I always say, well, it's my pace car. It's keeping me in this space so I don't get myself into an accident, or it's
Mm,
keeping me in
mm,
this space so it'll get me where I need to go at the exact right time I need to be there. But it's my pace car. So instead of getting angry at the pace car and doing something stupid on the highway 95 in Miami, and then God knows what could happen. Lord knows
mm.
I've seen enough cases where, people will like lose their, what's out there, you know, acknowledge that perhaps, like I've always trying to believe, the life is rigged in your favor,
Mm,
or live life
great.
as if it's unfolding in your favor. So I love how you're saying there's like really little I can do. Yes, next time maybe we start a little bit earlier, maybe we
Mhm.
approach so the stress is not so high. But because we're in it, instead of like blowing up in the moment, taking it all in as to what you can do. And Suzanne's commenting, yes, the only thing we have control over is our reaction, which is absolutely true. And the reaction dictates so much, right, Kendra? I mean, like literally.
Absolutely.
Even so, for instance, I know because you've explained to me your grief backstory. I don't know if you want to share it with the audience today. Certainly, what brought you to where you are and how devastated you were, one after the other, but you shift to what you're doing now, which is something to help other people, which is what Mike pointed out at the outset. So tell
Mhm.
us, if you want, a little bit about that. What's impacted you to bring you to where you are today.
Mm. You know, we learn a lot from example too, right? So I can say that my biggest example of how to navigate grief was really my mom when my sister passed away,
Wow.
and of course my dad as well. But I can say that just seeing how they navigated the grief experience of losing a child and really practicing, putting into practice what they believed, and so being, in our case, in our family, we did believe that the soul continues, and so therefore at holding on to that belief and that she wasn't gone. It was just a different space, a different dimension per se, but just with us. That really helped us. And so by me seeing how they were really living to what they had kind of taught us to grow up believing. I was 21 when my sister passed away. She was 18. My younger brother was 7 at that moment when she died, and my sister was 12. My other sister was 12. And even to hear my brother say the comment when we were all like sitting together, because I studied in the States and they lived in Colombia. And then, anyway, we were all together after she passed away. And my brother said, finally, we're all together now. This is a 7-year-old, okay? We're all together now because Zorana's with us in spirit.
Oh,
To
wow.
hear I get chills still,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the purity of that soul say something like that, and me learning from this, young, boy
Yeah.
even about really what death was, me as a 21-year-old just really brought a lot of comfort. So that was kind of the part of my journey, and just how to be able to navigate it. And emotions were always welcomed, always, all types of emotions. Every single anniversary or birthday, we'd always call each other and reminisce. So that was something that was always part of my life. And so therefore, also when I then was grieving, 10 years later, the 10, I'm like, yeah, 10, the passing of 10, no more. What, how many years? Not, no, yeah, 10 years later when I lost the baby, I was my first pregnancy, that as well, like, just navigating that grief. And similar to what you mentioned even before, in terms of like that car is your pace kind of maker,
Yeah.
kind of. I also thought there must be some wisdom with it. I always holding on to that. There must be some wisdom to this, in every single situation. There has to be a wisdom behind this. I don't see it. I may not see it because I'm submerged in it. It's kind of like not seeing your nose because you're so close to it, But so that's one of the things that probably has gotten me through all the situations, is knowing that there is some greater plan out there that I am unaware of in that moment, of what it is and what the role it is I play. So that's what's gotten me through. And then the podcast then was a birthed from, my mom passed away in 2016. I'm like losing track. And then in 2020, I started the podcast, and it was just really that curiosity of what is it that has helped other people? Okay, this is what helped me, but what is it that has helped other people navigate through these hard times in their life? And so that's how it started.
Well, I do appreciate, and they're all saying that, your sister's a guardian angel, and then your brother could feel her spirit with you, and then Mike says, here in spirit, marvelous. I will say this, one of the things I find about sharing the stories and being vulnerable to your story with other people is that it does make someone else's journey a little bit easier. And I told you at the outset, you have to send me some quotes, because I love quotes. And basically, oh goodness, I don't know where you went, so we'll put you back on. You see, missing that, but I don't see you, and I need you back. So we'll put you back on. There we go. See, this is the guardian spirits playing with my internet tonight. But here we are. There you see the quotes again. This first one you sent to me was act without expectation. And I will say I can find out a lot about a person by those quotes that guide them and actually provide them some wisdom. So tell me a little bit about that.
So people are always I don't know, something I always think, or even myself in my younger self, I'd always be disappointed at times, right? And disappointed. And what I'd realize is that people didn't disappoint me. The situation didn't disappoint me. What disappointed me was my expectations.
Okay.
So by not creating, you can have goals, you can have goals, you can have, certain things you want to occur. But when you have an expectation about how something's going to go, oh, my birthday's coming up, oh my gosh, I think they're going to plan a surprise party, then nobody calls you. Yeah, nobody calls you. They forget. And then you feel like it's the worst day of your life, but nobody disappointed you. It was your own expectation of what was going to happen. Nobody disappointed you. So that's kind of where this quote then comes up for me, is because I've had to switch that way of being in order to really just enjoy more the present and not be disappointed as often. Of course, I'm human, right? We're all human.
I have to say, I got it to that point because, like, you do so much and you work so hard and you have these goals, like you're saying, and these expectations of what's going to unfold and what's going to happen. And then it doesn't, or it doesn't right now. It's kind of like those prayers they say, you pray to God and he'll give you three answers. Yes, no, and not right now, right? Or something, I have something better in mind for you, right? And I always kind of get lost in that. No, I want what I want, and
now.
And it's so frustrating. And
that's like Baruka, isn't it? Baruka, which one is the one from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Daddy, I want it right now.
Golden goose, for Christmas. Yeah. Yes, I will be Baruka Salt, and I would literally no. But obviously, I'm an adult. I don't show the world. However, I may be coming across a bit brash or abrupt, or perhaps, and I try to regulate myself. But it's because I really expect so much from myself. So the act without expectation is a surrendering, perhaps, to what's going on around, because otherwise you just, you want to control, like we were talking about before, the outpouring and Sadula salt. Baruka salt. saying La Veruca Salt. Thank you so much. Oh, like Sadula. I don't know
Well,
who
I
Sadula is.
think okay, Luis Felipe speaks. I think he had the Spanish
Spanish on?
keyboard because he wrote cédula, which is it's the way that we identify ourselves, the identification card. He wrote
Sadula
cédula,
Salt.
so
We're gonna
it
call
goes
her Sadula
autocorrect
Salt
it.
now. I do like that better. I think it's for the Manifesting with Meg show. It is absolutely going to be that. But then we go on to this next wonderful, quote. Man is in reality a spiritual being, and only when he lives in the spirit is he truly happy. Oh my God, we are talking about happiness today and what makes someone happy and what allows for that to overwhelm someone's life. Tell me what your thoughts are on this one.
So some of these that I chose actually come from the spiritual, like the religion I grew up in and the spiritual practice that I grew up in my religion. So therefore, that aspect of the spiritual being that really helped then in my journey in general with grief, because then that part of the body was just temporary, right? It is just so again, focusing on the spirit, on our soul, is really what we should be doing, and the qualities and our virtues, not necessarily everything we acquire in life, but then the moment that when we use the things that we have in order to help advance the growth of our soul and that of others, that also actually with the act without expectation also comes with that aspect of service, because you mentioned service is also the focus of the month of October. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep, you got it.
Yeah. So that also, when you serve for somebody else, you can't expect you can't expect them to, you serve from your soul. So again, having that spiritual reality allows us also to just focus just on the giving and just how we lead our lives.
It's very interesting, and I will point this out as well, as the happiness factor, right? Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody thinks by acquiring so many material things, and that material things are not a bad thing. I mean, certainly, there are certain things in life that make us happy, but it's called, they call it, it's called, ay, for only
Ay, that sounded like you were Colombiana.
I hear it, and I'm like going into my oh please, when I was in Colombia I was like a total character. I was like, I pretended I was someone totally not myself. It was the best time I've ever had in my life. I think I became more of myself because of that, right? But the reality is, like, it's that hedonic expectation, right? Hedonic, because basically it hits us for a time and then it goes away because we're so used to. Oh my gosh, Ceci and Bert are here. So I'm so excited. Those are wonderful spiritual healers and leaders. I'm so happy they're here to join you so I can introduce them to you, Kendra, and as well as everyone else. I'm so happy you guys are all here because this is really an important conversation, certainly around what makes us happy and what kind of reality we really want to expect, on the daily. If it's merely an illusion, albeit a persistent one, when we truly want something really wonderful to persist in that space that we exist in. What are your thoughts about that?
It sounds again of the like too much of the now, of the wanting
Yeah.
the now. So
Yes.
happiness sometimes too, when we focus too much on that aspect of the happiness can be an emotion that mm, can be momentánea. Hold on, let me try to think it in how do I say it in English? Momentánea, just an instant. It doesn't necessarily is a lasting one. For me, the joy can exist. Joy can exist even with grief. Happiness is like just like sadness. You know what I mean? Sad, happy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's more like an on and off
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah.
But with things in life, the true like joy and that true kind of plenitud. What would that be? Bliss, and
Bliss. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, plenitud, bliss, yeah,
Oh my God.
like your book.
I never knew
That
that word was bliss in Spanish. Plenitud. I love
plenitud, yeah.
that.
So plenitud, yeah. That I think that really does come from the spirit.
Mm,
That's like when you have this kind of like even toned,
yeah.
just like, yeah, this joy is plenitud, really more like plenitud, but bliss, right? Just this
Yeah.
bliss that just it just comes from
Oh,
the spirit. Yeah, the
love it.
other ones I think are more
Moment.
that instant kind of gratification, kind of the material world just kind of gives us those little
hits.
Hits, you called it hits kind of thing.
Yeah. You know, Berta's saying that she loves the conversation. Bringing of service brings the ultimate happiness. So here
Mm.
we have this beautiful lotus, right? The betterment of the world can be accomplished through pure and goodly
Here,
deeds.
I'll look at it.
Through
I'll
commendable.
look it up on my phone because I can't read
Yeah,
it there either. It's too little.
yeah.
I'll look
It's
at
I do believe that pure and goodly or godly deeds wherever you want
goodly deeds and through a commendable and seemly conduct. So
yeah,
that goes to the what Berta was saying regarding service. That
yeah,
really does come to that. That is we and that really does bring to that ultimate joy is
yeah.
serving others. And not only are you bringing yourself joy, you're just bringing joy to others and bettering the world in that act of service.
But people don't generally think that. They're like, I'm miserable and I'm just gonna hovel away in my own little corner in the world and I'm just gonna just
Oh
just
my gosh. If you
yeah.
want to flip the switch, bring somebody else, give somebody else words of praise, and it
No.
will switch you completely. Not only like being grateful, but just pouring greatness into somebody else will completely change your state, like
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah. In divine natural state, Ceci's saying, I will say this. My daughter has a real corner on the market when it comes to shifting into moments of plenitude or joy or bliss because she's very
She
faithful
sings
offering. Yeah, she
and she
is. She
sings.
gives compliment. Yeah, she sings that.
Yeah.
She's always like looking for something beautiful of someone else to tell them that they are beautiful or they
Mm.
are wonderful or they are this. And you should see. And I think coming from an adult, it might be a little different. They're like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Yeah,
what are
because
you
we know what? Because we're not used to it. We think it could be like as if you're looking down, kind of when you're speaking down of someone,
yeah,
something
yeah,
too. Like if you say, "Oh, you know what I mean?" Like
yeah,
because we're not used to it. It's
yeah,
what does she want? Why is she saying that she
yeah.
like
Well,
we're mistrusting.
one of the good things on Facebook, like there are some things out there on Facebook that are good, is the whole idea of making something wonderful a habit, like making saying "I love you" to your friends a habit, saying something that you appreciate about another person a habit. Because the more habits that you imply or have in your life that are those, then it really does cause your reality to be much better. Because I mean, listen, if someone tells me I look beautiful and it's like literally I know that, but it still makes me feel good, changes my day, change because I could be like we have the no comment or no judgment rule downstairs when we walk our dogs because some people come in robes, some people come in the middle of the night. They're like, there's no judgment down here, people. So if someone says, "Oh, you actually look really good today," it's like like people take that stuff and they run with it. So it's certainly it's a beautiful thing. And like I said to you before, children can, impress upon others that much easier. And Mike is saying we have to trust more. That have to trust that someone's offering me something from their heart and not for more different intentions or desires. So we have this beautiful poem, and you're going to read it off of your telephone because
Oh, yes, on my phone. But let's see if I can. I have my contacts. I think I can read it. So I'll talk. So this is from Khalil Gibran. It's the book, The Prophet. If
yes,
you haven't read that, it's like grab it. I think there's so many pearls of wisdom there. My husband and I read in our wedding the one that's on love and the one that's on marriage because we
yes,
love it so much. And so when I became a parent, the one on children is one of those that I have to constantly kind of keep myself in check and remember. And it's your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself.
mm-hmm.
They come through you, but not from you.
Mm-hmm.
And though they are with you, and though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backwards, nor tarries with yesterday.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Oh my God, that's so beautiful, but at the same time, it's so sad.
It's
Um,
Well,
you
it's you know what it is though. It's back again to releasing. It's that how we were talking about before
yeah,
about the controlling. it's the same. Like we have this expectation sometimes as parents that we are here to mold our children. Like
Yeah.
that's not our job. We're here to just kind of nourish and guide them in this, but they really are themselves. And man, that's one of the toughest things to be detached from, I think, is the outcome, of like, oh my gosh, how are they going to turn out? Are they going to turn out to be kind human beings, And I think that that's one of the things I struggle with the most, is hoping that whatever I've done has been, enough to then let them on to their journey.
I have to tell you, I I went to my 30th college reunion this last weekend, which I did want my son to go there. Unfortunately, for me, it didn't turn out that way. He is fortunately where he wants to be, which is in Italy right now, but he's going to go to the University of Miami. And I will tell you this, then I brought my daughter to Boston College this weekend to see my school, to share that with her. And she had absolutely no interest whatsoever. I'm like, these are my memories. Don't you want to love this too? And it was kind of like, at the end of the weekend, I think we both were tired of each other, and we were like, kind of like, okay, let's just get home already. But the bottom line is that what you just said is on point. They're here to do their thing, however that looks, and it has nothing to do with your journey and your past and your life. And you can actually free yourself, liberate yourself, like Ceci's saying, to allow them to have those opportunities. And I laughed because on the way home, we almost missed our plane. She was determined to get food, and I'm like, I had, my gut was saying, you gotta go, you gotta go, you gotta go to the plane. So I went there, and the lady literally last call Miami, and she was standing on line for food. So I had to call her because she's like, you have to get on now, man, you have to get on now. And she got on the phone. I'm like, run! And then the lady actually said to me, she's like, are you gonna go without her? I go, she's a minor. And I was like, I didn't think about leaving without her. No, I was like, I was going to throw my body in the door. Right? They come through us, but not, whatever. But I was laughing because I was just like, I will do anything for this child. I literally felt Mama Bear coming out. I was going to I go, she's coming. And again, she's running like a crazy person. But I just find it so interesting that you said what you did, because the words are so beautiful to remind us that we are just, to be on the journey with them, right? Kind of guide them and hope that they're the kindest. And like you were saying, right?
Well, and it could be somebody, somebody doesn't necessarily have to agree with it. These are not like, but for me, these do help me. It helps me to be detached again from the outcome, and not make them be like me. Who wants, what I mean? I don't want them to live my story, or, it's not,
people's like, say, talk about reality, right? What kind of reality that you want, and you want them to be them. But it's so funny because you're like, oh, she's someone, who's she like? They always say who they like, who they most like, who do they take after. And Mike Spatola is saying that he wanted his kids to go to Notre Dame for all of his, and not a one of them. So, there you go. But the reality is like, they're themselves. I know they have, they look a little bit like us or whatever, but they're themselves. And this one I just wanted to add because it's you, and it says sometimes we need a little magic. And I think that in the reality, I think magical thinking certainly is something that can help all of us, get through the day a little better, and little pixie dust to throw on all of what you just said, the act without expectation, touched base with your spirit. I mean, it's so much magic there with the spiritual side that, it's kind of exciting, and it's kind of exciting for sure. So, I want to say, my vision is here to engage the extraordinary person, and you certainly are, and you're a fine, like I said, thank you to Kim Weiss for, connecting us. I definitely want to ask you, and so you can offer to the people who are listening today, how do you embrace your path now that you're offering this wonderful perspective to everyone? What do you think is the one thing that moves you forward on your path, having experienced what you have in your life?
Just knowing that if I show up, I'm giving others permission to show up as well. And if, you were talking about vulnerability, and even just showing those aspects of vulnerability and so forth, is just giving others just a glimpse of that, and that it's okay. So what keeps me going forward, even just with doing the podcast, believe me, there are weeks editing. I'm like, no, I could talk with somebody for hours. It's the
Yeah.
post part that I'm like, no.
You're so
So
good at it. It's so well done. It really
well,
is.
my husband helps me as well, but like he does the major part of the editing. I have to do the pre-editing. He does the next one, but um, I know that again, it's if it can help one person, it really just kind of keeps me moving
Yeah.
forward. If I can know that it can impact at least the life of one person listening to these stories, and they're all interviews. Pretty much everything that I've done have been interviews, and I feel inspired and I learn something from that each day.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me moving forward, is that knowing that somewhere or another I'm helping somebody else's life, just like others have helped mine. So
Did you ever think that you were going to be such a catalyst for healing when you started
oh gosh, not at
journey?
all.
No,
No,
not at
you
all.
actually just even you just saying it right now, I just kind of like hearing that just kind of no,
No, no.
no, that is.
What was it that you thought you were going to do with your beautiful life?
I think that, well, I studied theater, so I'm like, for me, like I knew that I wanted to. This is what I did know when I studied theater. One of the things I knew I wanted to do, that was that I wanted to invoke thought
Oh,
to others, and to invoke connectivity from what they would see, like on a stage and so forth, to connect to some sort of emotion. And
right.
that was really what I studied theater for. And with the podcast and with almost everything I've done in my life, I used to own a children's gym and things like that. So it was always about connecting to another person, and evoking some kind of thought or emotion. That was really, and I think that was really my goal with the podcast as well. But now that you're saying with the healing, like I would have not thought of that. So that actually just moved me. Thank you, Meg. You're
No,
the one that sprinkles. You're the one that sprinkles pixie dust.
Patrick. Well, I have to tell you, we have some authors online tonight, and Suzanne says she cries constantly. This is very profound. I think and I just want to, being an author also, the whole idea is that you bring out the emotions by virtue of how you tell your story. And that is something that you do very well with your interviews, is bring out the story so the emotion will follow. And I think really quite poignantly too, it does take someone who's very skilled in that art to ask those questions in such a way that it offers a safe space for another person, especially when you're talking about grief, because a lot of people don't want to go there, because that is a scary place. That is a place where they have run from, perhaps, or perhaps they, are just now, looking in or looking at that by going within, because of whatever is, causing that, internal, view. And it's not necessarily something that you want to do with someone you don't trust. So I'll, to Mike's point, once again, the beginning of, healing is certainly trusting others, and trusting that you chose well. And I love the fact, going back to the whole, reality is what we make it. If I choose my reality to be surrounded by people who I can trust and I can share with, that would be a much more awakened world that I'd like to be a part of. And, coming from the point of, I was a prosecutor for so long, lawyer, I didn't trust anybody. I thought they were all lying to me. So it's really kind of a habitual change for me. So being around people like you is quite wonderful. So going back to you, so time to manifest, and it's like the end. We're in the fourth quarter of 2021, and we're looking down the, like, kind of feel like we're on a roller coaster, like, wee, with a wee part. And I laugh because I keep saying, Suzanne will appreciate this. We just got out of Mercury in retrograde, so all the communication's back. We're all like able to talk to each other and perhaps communicate well, and not with all these misunderstandings. Who knows? But as we're looking down, the last 3 months, 3 more months of 2021, what are you looking to bring into your world, that magical spark and pixie dust?
Is that the part of my intention?
Well, it could be your intention. You could bring it up now, or you can do it in a little bit. But what comes to mind? Tell me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll do my intention because I
Okay.
think that that's really what I think it was. So to open doors of possibilities and connections.
I love it. Does it say team success on top?
Oh yeah, no, that's my. This is I'm in network marketing, so this is a
Oh,
little pad of yeah.
awesome. Awesome.
So to open doors of possibilities and connections.
To open doors of possibility and connection. And since you're bringing your intention forth, why don't you go ahead and be synchronistic and then pick the number in the book?
Okay, so I wrote it down. I wrote down just so I wrote number 9, and I have not opened it because I haven't read early on because I got the book. It was September, so
Yes,
I've only read from September on.
I
So I
love it.
haven't read. So I'm curious at what it says because I haven't opened. I picked number 9. Okay,
It's January for sure.
it's January 7th. Yeah. Until you breathe your last breath, it is always too early to quit.
Oh, I love that. That's
It's
awesome.
always too early to quit by Norman Vincent Peale, American author, and Power of Positive Thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to read the whole thing,
So
or
what I
do we
would
just?
suggest is if whatever speaks to you, read that part. So if if anything calls to you and that you feel like you want to share that aligns with your intention, for sure.
Ever wonder what you are meant to do with your life? What will allow you to make a difference? Leaving this world better for having known the beauty that is you? Each person has a specific mission on this journey. And when each person makes it his or her goal to live out of his mission, we are blessed.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, girl, you like I want to say at one time it was September. Which one was it? It was September something. I did this. I have actually a little my tribe is called my Bliss Tribe. Funny and
I
interesting
love
enough.
that. Of
And
course it
you
is.
see, this is a book. You see, bliss is everywhere.
Yeah.
So so in my little Bliss Tribe, I said, you guys, can I read what came up for today? And that day when I read that, it was like as if you were writing it for us specifically. Like what was that day was exactly
Yeah.
what all 4 of us needed to listen to. So this one right here, I think it's the answer to this. I really do think that my journey and my mission is to connect people, to connect others. And
Yeah.
I know you're a mega connector, Meg, because you connected me with some people. I'm actually interviewing somebody for the podcast tomorrow that then I interviewed somebody last week that you connected with me with. So thank you
Oh, you're so welcome.
for all the connections. So that was mine. How about yours? Did you pick up number 2?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that because I was like, you know what? Since my intention was one, I usually try to set my intention being I'm going to have fun and whatever happens, happens, right? But tonight, because I so needed this, and Suzanne's saying it too. She needed. I needed this. It's been a really hard last couple of weeks, and Kendra, you have something. You have a je ne sais quoi, a specialness to you, and I'm so beyond grateful. But I wanted to hear something from you that I could take for me, and I'll share it with everyone else. But this is for me. So and I heard so many somethings already from you. It's amazing. But I really believe that the children, the on children, was so powerful. Like Mike is saying for me. So I'm already grateful. So I guess my intention is for the next 3 months to bring the energy of tonight into the next 3 months with me so that I can make it detaching from expectations, so in spirit to inside my spirit, and then bringing some of that godly, goodly, efforts to the world. So I'm going to just open it to a page and I'm going to read there what my magical.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So
Excited.
it's take risks. What do you have to lose? And it's one of my favorites by Paulo Coelho. You have to take risks. We will only understand the miracle of life fully when we allow the unexpected to happen. Oh my God. It's just like, oh my God, seriously? Are you kidding me? I'm going to read that again so the people in the back can hear, right? You have to take risks. We will only understand the miracle of life fully when we allow the unexpected to happen. So I suppose my expectations are limiting me from what those wonderful unexpectations can unfold. And I said, as you live your creative truth, you don't have to believe everything you hear. Choose wisely what feedback will guide you. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. When you go out into the world, take risks and release your creativity without a censor, and the unexpected will happen. This is what life's all about, facing your fears with courage, allowing your creative spirit to shine through, and enjoying the miracle of the experience. Wow. I'm going to
Just
say,
the ride. Enjoy the ride.
yeah,
Enjoy the
enjoy the
ride.
ride. So,
And you're amazing. My gosh. I don't even know. I was just thinking, how did you get all these downloads? How did
oh,
how,
that was my mother. Oh, I had
crazy
conversations with my
amazing.
mother every day. I was writing. I missed her so much, and my friend said I had to connect to her. So I decided to do it through writing. And it's been such a joy. It has been such an honor because I get to share it with people as well. And Mike Spatola is one of my biggest promoters. He's always putting my magical guide to bliss quotes, and I've had him on my show twice. And like I said, one of those wonderful, he's my teacher from high school. And I know this is crazy, but he's my friend now, and he's a magical person in and of himself. And like everyone who comes on, Berta, Ceci, Suzanne, Leslie, Mike, all of them are really magical people. And
I can feel it. I can feel their energy. Just what they're saying. Thank you guys so
and
much.
and it's also, Suzanne is, he's saying, Mike's saying, to each of you, your positiveness and energy and enthusiasm are palpable and felt here in Durham, North Carolina. So it's that wonderful connection, exchange of wonderfulness that we can all bring into the next 3 months and beyond into 2022 and go there. So I want to go back to your best tools and practices that you can give to these wonderful people that they can take with them tonight and into the rest of the year and aid their journey if it so aligns.
Live in the present. Take each second moment as it comes.
I love it.
Release expectations. And also allow yourself in those moments, allow yourself to just live each emotion as it comes. Just flow with life.
Go with
Just
the flow. I have been saying effortless flow, effortless flow, effortless flow, but you know what? You can't control the effortless flow. You have to just
no,
go with the
you can
flow.
flow. You know what happens when you just flow? This is something else. I did an event one time and I called it flow into focus because it's like sometimes if you flow, then at sometimes within that flow, you're able to realize what are areas in your life that you have to focus on.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're so focused on something, you don't see the rest. But while you're flowing, it's kind of like you're having that bird's eye view. I like my Spanish, bird's eye view and seeing what's going on. And then you're like, okay, I'm realizing my children right now need me. This is where I'm going to focus a lot of my energy more now, then maybe sometimes it's your work, sometimes it's this, but it's flowing into focus. So that would be.
I love it. Flowing into focus, and Suzanne's saying it's balance. So yeah, I think sometimes you can't be everything to everyone all the time. It's just not possible. So maybe the flow will give you the opportunity to be able to just move with, like I heard one of my best friends always says, God, give me the ability to be the feather on your breath. So that it's a beautiful visual, right? So
have you seen my pictures of, now that you're saying feathers, I
right.
see feathers every single day during my walk. Now that you're saying feather.
Well, now you can embody the
Feather
feather
on
as
your
well.
breath. God,
Feather and
allow
God's
me to
breath.
be
So
just to flow. Beautiful.
yeah,
That visual.
that always spoke to me, and she actually gave me, some beautiful feathers too. So, Mike's saying, look and see, that will allow us to flow into focus, which I love it. It's beautiful. So I do want to give you the opportunity. Well, first of all, the gratitude I'm feeling for you right now and the energy that I needed, I'm so grateful, I must say. So the gratitude certainly is coming back to you as well. I want to give you the opportunity to share with us a final inspiration. Mike saying, cardinals on your shoulder for sure, and butterflies that surround us for sure. So give us some final inspiration to take into the rest of this beautiful full week of October of service, and then on to create the reality that we make so that we don't live in a reality, a nightmare that we don't want, for
Mm.
sure.
You know, this is what I'd say. Sometimes when we see the world around, we're talking a lot about imageries, about nature, and we see this incredible, masterpiece that is nature. And for those that are spiritual, if we see that like God's, masterpiece and everything that is there. And one thing that came to me in one of these, like, or at least realizations, but it's not like I'm sure many people have thought of this before. In that moment I hadn't, was realizing that we ourselves are a masterpiece. So remembering that you are a masterpiece, and you may not see that, but just like when you look at a sunset and you're in awe of that sunset, or when you look at your child and you're in awe of that child, remember that there is something greater out there that is in awe of you and of where you are in your life right now and of what you've been able to accomplish
Oh,
and do. And
beautiful.
I'm gonna cry,
Oh my
but
God.
just
I
remember,
know.
because if we think of it that way, then then it kind of just gives us some comfort to realize we are our creator's masterpiece as well. So let's behave like one.
Yeah. I love it. That is beautiful. And I love that I am in awe of so many of you who are on the feed today. I am in awe of you, Kendra, as well. And I'm grateful for those beautiful words to close the show out with. Kendra, I would love for you to tell everyone. Okay, let's see here. Okay, tell everyone how they can find you. Where's your email address or perhaps your website?
Okay, thank you. And for those of you that were on here, I know you all have story. I know you have stories, and anybody that watches this has a story. If you ever want to share your story, just remember that it will inspire somebody else. So please, reach out. And so my website is, you could just, it's easier probably to do kendrarinaldi.com, my first and last name. But if not, it's grief, gratitude, and the gray in between.com. And you can find the podcast and listen to Meg's interview and many other interviews I've had of people with amazing journeys of grief, gratitude, and the gray in between that they've gone through. So
I will say, I want to spell
thank
it
you,
out.
Meg.
This is a podcast too. So it's KendraRinaldi.com. And then grief, gratitude, and the gray, GRAY in between.com. So definitely reach out to her. It is definitely worth your time. She is a incredible, beautiful light in this world, causing the darkness of grief to just to evaporate a little bit every day with every story that she shares. And I am just so grateful that I could bring her to all of you tonight in this month of service. Certainly she is serving from a place of love and gratitude, and I'm grateful as well to her.
I'm so grateful for you and for everything that you do, and again, the magic that you bring to this world, and the energy and the love and the
Well, look what
smile.
you
The
did to my
smile.
what you did to my world today. It's like, yay! It's just awesome. I do want to remind all of you wonderful people that you're here as deliberate creators of your life. I'm going to add, and you are a masterpiece. Dream big and let us all together raise the positive vibrations on this planet so we can all live in our bliss. Let's love ourselves exactly where we are, reach out to each other, and continue to spread love. Be bold and be an awakener. That's Mike's words. Time to manifest the life of your dream. We love you all. You look amazing today, everybody. I love your hair. You're stylish. You're wonderful. And I am in awe of all of you. Thank you so much, Kendra. It's been such a joy. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you, Meg.
Bye.